Welcome to Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine's fiction podcast. I'm EQMM's editor, Janet Hutchings. Historical mysteries have always been an integral part of EQMM's mix of crime fiction subgenres. The story we feature this month takes us back to ancient Rome, with a plot full of dangerous political intrigue. The story was a finalist for the Short Mystery Fiction Society's Best Short Story Derringer Award. Its author, Burton McCormick, who has lived in Eastern Europe for 17 years, writes primarily thrillers associated with that region, including the novel KGB Banker. He placed second in the most recent EQMM Readers Award contest with his novella Demon in the Depths. Here he is reading his story Pompo's Disguise from the March-April 2015 issue of EQMM.
Rome, AD 55. I recognize him, of course, despite the wig of black Parthian hair combed consciously down over his forehead. No one long keeps their identity hidden from me, a tavern thief of 30 years. Even on a bustling holiday like tonight, every face in the Hostium Hermitas has my attention, and wig or no wig, I well remember the pale blue eyes, the slight chin, and the scruffy neckbeard of the 17-year-old mama's boy at the corner table. He's not one you forget. Not when seen in the flesh. On the Neptunalia holiday, not 8 days ago, he had slipped into this very tavern, sporting a faded sun hat, and wearing the reeking rags of a Tiber fisherman, and gotten drunk upstairs, vomiting down the stairwell until his friends took him home. Now with the Ludi Victoriae Caesarae chariot races in their third day, and the house packed with thirsty spectators, this thick-necked fool has returned in a new guise, dressed as an urban fop in an over-embroidered black tunic, and strumming an ivory-framed lyre. Every sighting brings a new role, it seems, another persona, a fashionable identity. A strange hobby, but I try to understand his reasons. If I were he, I might do the same. The house girls, Nona and Virginia, their professions advertised by their own bright blonde wigs, press their ample bodies against this boy, begging him to play Cleopatra Amateur on his lyre. Instead, Pompo, as he calls himself on these ventures, recites self-penned love poetry, while the whores feign interest on the bench beside him. The rhymes are crude, the imagery cruder. Ovid he isn't. Save for these girls, the tavern takes little notice of Pompo, as I should ignore him, as every pickpocket in here should. But there is temptation and real danger. See, despite the youthful face, the dressing up, and something of a wastrel's reputation, Pompo is from the family, and easily the wealthiest man in the tavern. And in Rome, more than any other city in this world, wealth has become power. Pompo remains untouchable. Best to let it rest there. So time for another mark. My eyes search the room. Now take this man, Decimus. He's more the type. Old soldier, done from the wars at 50. Still muscular, still fierce. He'd snap a little man like me in two if he could catch me. Now, catching me isn't as easy as it sounds, friends. I've worked this tavern and hundreds like it through all Italia since I was 13. No one has ever gotten their money back. Well, except my sweet Antonina, and a few of my other lady friends over the years. You see, I have a weakness with the fairer sex. I can't quite con them. I lose denarii every time I try. Some inherent and unfortunate nobility left in my character. It keeps me from being a master thief. A pity. Luckily, there's absolutely nothing feminine about the hairy, bulky, and dirty Decimus. This should be easy. I wipe the summer sweat from my brow, and using the crowd as camouflage, I approach the public bench where my target is sitting. Decimus's great callous fingers strum his leather coin pouch on the table, while he complains to a drunken friend about his harrowing life, about the disgraced Thracian legion, about losing his pension and land grant, how he has to gamble for a living now. Pig. Yes, Decimus, your life is so difficult as a gambler. When you win, you collect. When the other man wins, he ends up face down in the Tiber. Well, I'll collect for those you've strangled, for Marcus, for Lucius, for little Publius who trusted you. I thumb the tortoiseshell amulet hanging down into the folds of my tunic. Mercury, guide the dead to the fairest spots of Hades, and grant me victory, Lord of Thieves, over this Umbrian thug. I check my fingertips and thumb. No impressions from the tortoiseshell. Good sign. With the god's blessing, I slowly sit down on the bench next to Decimus. His back remains to me as he confides with his friend, but the companion arches his neck a little at my arrival, giving me a long, fog-eyed stare. Nothing in my manner apparently arouses his suspicion, and he eventually returns to the conversation about the Empire, complaining to Decimus that the life was better under Claudius, that the new reign cares nothing for old soldiers like them. They live in the past, these two, but I live in the present, and at present I bide my time. Try to make small talk with others at the table. A pair of Greek merchants apparently too busy in negotiations to chat with me, and a young scholar using the free candlelight to write some important work on Euclidean geometry, all of little use. But then the trusty fool Pompo assists me. At the next table he begins playing his lyre, and laughter soon arises at the poor pitch of his instrument. All heads turn to his direction. While Decimus watches, I slip my hand out over the table, just adjacent to the money pouch. It won't be hard. I simply have to wait until he moves his hand away to take his cup of wine. There. Not so difficult at all. Mercury has shown me the path to victory. I slide the pouch off the table, pinch it tight between my fingers as it falls, then let my arm go limp at my side, bang hanging in my hand just off the floor. Yes, there we go. If Decimus reacts, if he moves, or if some do-gooder shouts in alarm, I'll drop it, pretend the pouch fell there by accident, and as an honorable Roman, I'm trying to pick it up. Honest Quintus, they'll call me. But no one says a word. Decimus remains oblivious and drunk, watching the fool with the lyre. Now comes the difficult part. Anyone can knock a bag from a table, but who will walk away with it? Only a thief. There's the intent, the guilt, the robbery. I rise from the table slowly, but not unnaturally so. Just a tired man bent from years of labor. Taking the pouch, I press it close to my belly. No slipping it inside the tunic, no advertising that I've something I wish to hide. In fact, I toss it up a few times in the air as I walk away. Relaxed, casual? What sort of thief would do that? Decimus's table long behind me, I press my way towards the door, jostled continuously by the flow of incoming customers. The races are over, and there's barely room to breathe in this tavern tonight. Near the exit, I pass the owner, Gnaeus Festus Gallus, who is trying to explain to an angry German tradesman that they serve no beer on the Italian peninsula, only spiced wine or water on the holiday. I fear their shouting match draws attention in my direction, but at last I am out the door, stepping free into the humidity of the summer night. I smile. Well done. No wonder they call me Quintus Ingenium, Quintus the Clever. But then the smile fades from my lips. The street is full of soldiers. They stand dressed in their brown off-duty tunics, without helmets or armor, theoretically unarmed, though I can see the hard impressions of their Pugio daggers hidden at their breasts. So many. 6, 8, 10, by Mercury more? Is it 12 or 25? With others at the corner, with eyes watching from the shadows beneath the aqueduct bisecting the street? I retreat back into the tavern, let out a slow breath, slip the pouch into my tunic, and watch Festus argue with the German over beer. I doubt the soldiers would be wary of a middle-aged man, unarmed and casually carrying a common coin bag in his hand. But the sheer number gives me pause, and squeezing past an armed guard is far from my first choice. Odds are better with Decimus. Of course, the moment this thought enters my mind, the gods must have their jest. In that instant, Decimus appears from the crowd, and seizing me by the tunic, heaves me across the serving table. Bowls, plates, and regrets scatter everywhere as I tumble off the other side head first, falling face down to the floor under the rain of cheeses, pears, and blackberries. Something snaps at my ribs. Half stunned, I lay there wondering who was it that actually called me Quintus the Clever. Oh yes, my Antonina. Such a sarcastic woman when she wishes to be. Painfully forcing myself over, is that rib moving? I find Decimus standing above me. Where is it, Quintus? He shouts. I wipe the blood from my chin. You've got it wrong, my friend. I would never. Only you, Quintus. He cocks his great battering ram of a fist. Only you. I'll crush your skull to powder in one shot. Let's not be rash, Decimus. Fortunately for me, old Festus throws himself between us, shouting out, there is no fighting in this tavern. It takes Decimus by surprise, and they stumble back into the crowd. While the owner struggles with my opponent, I crawl away towards the other end of the chamber, not quite able to get to my feet with the sharp pains emanating from my ribcage. The crowd parts ahead of me, So great is their fear, Decimus, of his murderous wrath that not one person offers a hand to help me up. 30 years coming here and not one hand. Life of the thief, I guess, and maybe death. At the next bench, the last bench, sits Pompo. His back to the altercation, plain as lyre, he seems ignorant of the fighting, probably willfully so. With nothing to lose, I crawl up onto the bench next to him. His blue eyes turn to me, frown. To my surprise, he stops playing. Yes, child, he says. Continue your melody, please, I plead, trying to overcome the pain to speak. It was as moving as your performance at the theatre on Marcelli. You saw me at the theatre, you say? I did, the day your mother received full honors. His frown deepens. Who are you, child? Then he adds with aristocratic distaste, and what has happened to your chin? Being called child would be amusing under other circumstances, as I am more than twice Pompo's age. But at the moment there's no humor. Decimus has fought his way past Festus and is storming across the room. I'm only a loyal civis imperial, I answer hurriedly. As for my chin, well, that man you see... My words are cut off as Decimus arrives and seizes me by the throat with one hand, forcing me down on the bench, knee on my damaged ribcage. His fingers cut deep into my flesh, choking the life out of me as he did 3 of my friends at the river. Where is it, he growls, patting me down with his other hand. There is nothing. I hear a cracking sound at my trachea, the pressure cutting off my speech. Pompo, still sitting on the bench, disapproves. Child, I was speaking to this man first. Leave him be. Decimus isn't one to be told what to do, especially by a foppish lyre player in a tavern. With his free hand he shoves Pompo back, harshly tipping the young man off the bench. Legs in the air, he falls hard to the floor, his woolly wig rolling off to reveal a low forehead and short-cropped blonde hair. The room changes instantly. Those near the scene rush back, fearing Decimus's expanding violence, while others farther away laugh at the boorish spectacle. But a few, those who have spent time on Palatine Hill, or stood at the front of the grand parade, or ever considered the statue of honored Agrippina and her son closely, they do not respond. In fact, they stand dumbfounded. I hear Festus gasp, as does Decimus, his hand slipping from my throat. By Jove, he whispers. Still on the floor, Pompo pulls a wooden whistle from beneath his tunic, blows it loudly. The volume is not needed. His men are already on their way, bursting through the tavern door. Dressed, as I have said, in the tunics of common off-duty soldiers, their movements now are too precise, too rehearsed and trained, to be anything other than that of an elite bodyguard emerging from hiding. For you see, their master likes to join the common people on his holidays, to go out in disguise along the Via Lata to the baths or the taverns, just as any other Roman might. Those who know him say he longs to discuss the arts, or sports, or even politics with the plebs of the city, to feel as if he is one with Rome itself, up to a point. But correct him, confront him, or dare I say shove him, as my unfortunate adversary has done, you'll find there is nothing common in Pompo's response. The rumors are true. I see the evidence now with my own eyes as the Praetorian Guard drags poor Decimus away. Though my damaged voice croaks more than speaks, I offer to help Pompo to his feet, but the illusion is now pierced, and the guards won't let me lay a hand near him. He will rise on his own, not as a boy man, but as a man god, and all in the tavern instinctively step back. More than a few shout prayers aloud. Festus drops to his knees, crying out to Minerva for mercy. Through the doorway I see Decimus thrown into the street. There are screams, sobs, a flash of knives, and then harrowing silence. Great Mercury will soon take another soul down to Hades. I collapse into the bench, exhausted. It might have been me, the wing-footed one, carried off tonight. Blessed as Mercury has been to me, I have no need to meet my God just yet. Feeling my pains and wondering if it was worth the trouble, I pull out the money pouch from under my tunic and withdraw a few silver sesterces. They are new and tiny coins engraved with the image of our young Emperor Nero. A last glance at Pompo as he exits. There is a resemblance.
Pompo's Disguise is copyrighted by William Burton McCormick. Music for the podcast was obtained from purpleplanet.com. Mixing and editing were done by Kevin Wheeler and Jackie Sherbo. You can subscribe to Ellery Queen's Mystery magazine, where you'll find more stories like this one by visiting our website at www.elleryqueenmysterymagazine.com.